Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of MovieCast. I am your host, as always, Dana Abercrombie, and I am here joined by a wonderful panel who is excited to talk about The Matrix Resurrections, the greatest movie that has ever lived. People cried. Yay. So, joining me, we have Mr. Tony Polanco,
What is going on, people?
Mr. Carlos Romero,
Howdy, howdy. How's everyone doing?
and Mr. Vix Vapor Rub.
Hey,
Hello.
¿qué pasa? Te curo todo. All right.
All right, then. So let's just kind of dive into this. This is a movie that is on HBO Max. Thank God, so that everyone can enjoy it. It takes place, as it stated, over 60 years after the original Matrix, and basically the theme is the same theme that we've seen from 20 years ago. There's a lot of themes that we see that is the same. That basically it's about what is real. It questions the reality that many people hated in the sequence. I mean, in the sequels from The Matrix, while also kind of putting our characters back in that exact same fold. So what we know is that 60 years later, somehow Neo and Trinity and the rest of the team are all in the Matrix, and the whole goal, like always, is to pull Neo out so he can once again save everyone, get rid of the Matrix, and defeat the robots. I am pretty sure that I just explained all of that wrong because this was so boring to me. So right away, Mr. Tony, what are your thoughts about this movie?
All right. Just the fact that there's only three of us doing this podcast lets you know what's up with this movie. Nobody wanted to see this thing. I saw it just because I'm like, it's on HBO Max. Why not? And the instant this thing was announced, I already knew it was going to be bad just because Matrix 2 and 3 were bad, right? But, and I told you this before the show, and I'll say it now, those movies in retrospect are better after seeing this. I'm not saying they're good movies, they're still bad, but in retrospect, they're better than this because they at least had style, they at least had flavor, they at least were entertaining, right? This movie is the epitome of the Hollywood cash grab. It only exists purely for nostalgia. It has no soul whatsoever. It is devoid of life, and it's two and a, we're gonna go into it, but there's almost no redeeming value in this at all. The story was dumb. The action sequences were horrible. Like for a Matrix, even the bad Matrix movies had great action. Terrible, and the whole thing just felt like it was. And I'm not saying this like to exaggerate. I honestly believe this. This looks and feels like a made for TV movie. It does not feel like a feature film. It is cheap. You could tell they just skimped out on everything, So yeah, bad way to bring this franchise back. It shouldn't have been brought back to the first place. It should have just been left in the dust. Matrix is over. The only good thing that's ever come out of Matrix is the first film and Animatrix. That is it. Everything else, 2 and 3, bad movies. They need to leave this alone. And we'll get into it. The themes in this is like they were so heavy-handed, so forced, and yeah, it just didn't work for me. I understand there's people that like it. Good for you, but I think this movie's terrible. One of the worst movies I've seen this year by far. Granted, the only reason it's not the worst is because Mortal Kombat exists, but this was absolutely terrible.
Carlos?
Man, I forgot Mortal Kombat was this year.
Yeah, we did a podcast for it too.
This I guess I'll give my quick history on the Matrix. Matrix 1, saw it in the theaters, loved it, changed my life. It was probably it is one of the best movies I've ever seen. Matrix 2, I loved it. I was a kid. I felt like it was groundbreaking in terms of just the effects and sort of the set pieces of that movie. But I mean, even afterwards, after seeing it later on, I can see a lot of the negative aspects about it, but I still think of it as a net positive movie. Nowhere near the first one, of course, but it's still a decent movie for me. Number 3 is a terrible movie. It doesn't know what it wants to be. It has a really bad ending. It reuses a lot of things from the previous movies, and yeah, it was a unsatisfying way to end the series. So we thought. Now this one comes along with. By the way, did you guys know that this is a cash grab movie from Warner Brothers? Did you guys know that? this movie is all over the place. It's supposed to be like a Matrix with Inception, with callbacks, with no action, with no good action, with it. I don't understand what they were thinking with this movie. I mean, I will say that there is one redeeming quality about it, and that's the fact that the plot kind of had a good idea at the beginning, but they didn't follow through with anything. It didn't it didn't know what it wanted to do. And it's we'll get into more detail. I had no issues with the acting, but I do have an issue with the fact that the two best actors in the first trilogy are Hugo Weaving and Lawrence Fishburne, and those were ironically the two people that were replaced in this movie. Um, and man, it was bad. The effects were, like Tony mentioned, the action sequences were like, I don't even know if they were outdated. They just weren't. They weren't cutting edge. They weren't even with their contemporaries. They were just badly coordinated. And Neo is a that force using shit. I'm like, that's all that's all he does in that movie. He brags about knowing kung fu, but he just does a force shit the whole time. It's all over the place. I don't understand why people like this movie. I mean, I'm not here to try to change their minds, and good for them that they enjoyed this content. But in my opinion, I think people who really like this movie to love this movie are as pretentious as this movie is.
Tell me how you really feel, bruh. Tell me how you really feel. By the way, I want to quickly throw this thing in because I didn't really talk about my history with the Matrix, right? It's very similar to Carlos. That first one changed my life. Like there was a good solid week. I'm like, yo, am I living in a simulation right now? Like this, it was serious, right? The action was crazy. That thing was like Ghost in the Shell live action, right? Because Ghost in the Shell at that point was like the dopest movie I had ever seen. Then this comes out, oh, this is a live action version of Ghost in the Shell. This is fucking amazing, right? Second one comes out, I'm like, I don't like it as much, but the setup was so good, right? The things it's set up, I'm like, okay, the third one's gonna be fucking incredible, right? Third one was so bad. And the fact that it didn't pay off any of the promises of the second one made the second one bad in retrospect, right? So any of the good things that the second one had completely erased by that trash movie, So because of that, you could tell I had no expectations for this fourth one because it looked like a cheap cash grab, right? You saw the trailers, you're like, where's the green tint? This looks fake as fuck, And yeah, I don't know. Here's the thing. I don't want to. I'm not disagreeing with you when saying that people who like this are pretentious. So I'm pretty sure there is an element of that. But I also think it's just in general, people's expectations are so low. They demand so little from their movies that they probably actually like it because they don't know any better. They just think, oh, this is good now. But these are the same people that don't really look at the way old movies were done. I'm not even talking about old movies from the 80s. I'm talking about old movies from like 5 years ago. They're not looking at the way movies used to be made. Everything's just so low budget looking now, man. And I don't know, if this is related to this conversation, but it just seems to me like TV quality has gone up and movie quality has gone up. So we're getting this weird evening. I'm like, and this is going to sound crazy. I miss the days when TV shows look cheap and movies look good. Now everything looks like even. You know what I'm saying? Like I like my TV to look fucking cheap. That's how it's television. But now we have this weird middle ground where TV looks doper than it used to, but movies are looking worse than they used to. So, and you're right with the action. That was the defining hallmark. The two Matrix movies, the last two, as shitty as they were, they both had great action sequences. They felt visceral and raw and immediate. You had that energy, and this is just bland.
Also, the fact that these action scenes and all these set pieces never made you feel like there were any stakes attached to any of them.
Granted, that was a problem particularly with the second Matrix movie. Like they would have these grand action sequences. Like, what was that for? There was no reason for this. Like, there's that one scene in the beginning where he's fighting a bunch of werewolves or something. I think that's what they were. I don't know what the fuck they were. He just flies away at the end. I'm like, you could have just cut that entire scene. But at least this scene was dope looking. At least it was dope looking. You can even have that with this movie. So you had action sequences that had no like that didn't move the narrative forward, and they were boring on top of that. And remember in the all three of the first movies, right? Like bullets felt like powerful. Like even a single bullet, like it felt insane. Listen when she's like,
oh, these guys. Oh, don't get me started. These guys were worse than stormtroopers.
yeah,
They had They had machine guns with point blank range, and they missed every single shot.
Yeah. Oh,
none of the side crew, nobody died. No one was shot.
Yeah, nobody.
The worst that happened was that someone got got in a car crash. That's the worst that happened to these people. It was bad. Like there were no stakes. Like I felt like no one was ever at risk of anything.
Yeah,
not even agree. Trinity.
No, I 100% agree with that, because I was like, you have like what a crew of 7 motherfuckers. You got to kill at least half of them. Nope, everybody lived. It's like
didn't even do one.
Yeah, no, not even a single death. Yeah, those action sequences absolutely terrible. I can't believe they were that bad.
It's like, yeah, we went on a suicide mission to get you, Neo. So what? Less than 24 hours later, we're gonna do it again.
Yeah,
another 2 suicide missions in a row. No one dead. Yeah. It was bad. I guess we'll go piece by piece, but I man, because I do feel like the plot can work if done right.
Could have worked.
The fact that it's like, okay, it's the Matrix. Neo and Trinity are resurrected, quote unquote. Okay, it's space age technology from way beyond in the future. I can understand that. Well, I'll take that leap of faith. I'll take that Deus Ex Machina. I'll take it.
Yeah.
And the fact that Neo is the one, programming this, was it Mobius or I forgot the name of this thing.
It was called Matrix. Like that's literally the name. Yeah, it was called Matrix.
No. Matrix. But the name of the sub program that he makes.
I don't even remember. Like
I forgot the name. It starts with an M.
Yeah.
It's I cannot pronounce it. It's like Emosite. It's Mnemosyn. I'm just like,
I don't think it was that either, but I'll Google it. I'll Google it later. Yeah. But he creates this program, and this program he has all this stuff, and that's what triggers everything. Because he's stuck in this loop in his own in the Matrix, and what's the new Matrix. And the whole thing with Neil Patrick Harris, Doogie Howser, with the whole thing, and he's taking over the architect and stuff. And it's like, okay, that's cool. Like underlying parts that makes sense, but man, everything around it, everything else was just poorly done.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. The execution was because there were interesting ideas, and I think that's what people are latching onto, the interesting ideas. But
yeah,
interesting idea by itself doesn't matter if it's not executed well. All this stuff could have been interesting. I do have a question though, because I'm a little confused, because it's been almost 20 years and I've seen these movies. Didn't the last Matrix movie end with like a truce between the robots and humans?
Yes.
Did this movie explain why they just went back to the status quo? Did I miss that?
Well, they didn't. They did.
Okay, they didn't then.
So yeah. So
they said it in like a quick dialogue.
Yeah, it was a truce. It was a truce between humans and machines, and then the resource of the Matrix, whatever was generating the power for all of these for all the machines, were Neo and Trinity and their connection, and they kept the Matrix going, and it became sort of a civil war between machines. And the new Zion, I forgot the name of the place, but the new Zion is supposed to be humans with machine like allies and stuff.
Yeah, because you saw some of that. The movie didn't do a good job of demonstrating this. I think a in between movie would have been more interesting. Like how do we get back to the status quo? It reminds me of The Force Awakens. It's like, okay, so you had the rebellion won against the Empire, but then we're back to the status quo 30 years later. What really, we're doing this? And that's one of the problems with this movie. It's just it just harps too much on nostalgia. Just like that other movie that everybody loves. Like we're just harping on this side. We're trying to remember this, remember that. What did Chris call it? Member berries? He just had a ton of that.
Remember,
You
you
know, it's
remember
like
remember berries?
yeah, member berries. You know, it's like a ton of that stuff. But the thing is, like, literally to the point where they're showing you clips of the old movie, which is bad because I'm like, hey, remember this better movie? Remember this? You know, it's like you're undermining your whole thing right now. They're showing you this new fucking Morpheus, and then they show you the old Morpheus. I'm like, can we get him back? You know, and then from what I understand, if Lawrence Fishburne wanted to return, I'm like, bring him back then.
He
You
can't
know,
lift his leg. Man is old.
like, but he's not like then have the CG version of him doing stuff. You know,
That
like
would
they
have even bad. Even
that was bad
worse.
too. But at least it's in story. But yeah, I agree with you. It's like there's a lot of good, interesting themes going on, but they're not executed well. That's literally my problem with the last two Matrix movies. You got all these dope ideas, you didn't execute them well. Meanwhile, the first one is again, I don't understand. Actually, no, I really think the Wachowskis are just writing the coattails off that first movie because that's the only good movie they've ever done. That movie was great. Everything was executed so perfectly. And then after that, you know, they're like a one-hit wonder, basically, you know. And this
It
movie,
makes
again,
sense.
not doing you any favors. Again, I'm gonna repeat this all the time throughout this podcast. It really feels like a made-for-TV Matrix movie. Like it does not feel cinematic and big in scope at all. You know, it's like, hey, remember these movies? But we don't got the budget for it, so here's this instead. But apparently, it had $150 million budget, so that's a lot of money. So I don't see where any of that went. You know, I don't see where anyone went. It literally looks like the whole movie is just filmed in front of a green screen. Literally, I'm pretty sure the other ones were too, but this one looked like it. You know, like the composition was just bad. Everything was digital as shit. And I understand it's the Matrix, so maybe that's what they're trying to go for with this new Matrix. But it's like without that green tint or some kind of tint, it just makes it look really bad. The only things that looked good in this movie was when they were in the real world. That's what actually special effects wise looked decent. But when they were in the Matrix, everything just looked bad. You know, so God, I'm trying to think of at least redeeming value. I can't think of anything. I cannot. You know, maybe
I
Doogie
also
Howser, maybe, you know, but even he wasn't utilized as well as he could have been. You know,
yeah. I hate to say it, but and I know people are well, this is Keanu Reeves. I felt like he just mailed it in.
oh, he absolutely did. He phoned
It's
that shit, and he didn't give a fuck. You know,
as much as I love Keanu Reeves, it's he just man he wasn't. I thought Carrie-Anne Moss did a pretty good job. I felt like some of the other characters, Doogie Howser did a decent job. And but yo man, Jada Pinkett Smith with with her aging with the aging makeup, that was terrible.
was that
I'm
actually her?
sorry. Yeah,
Oh
that was
my
her.
god. Yeah, because I knew it was somebody in makeup. I couldn't tell if it was. Oh, that was bad. That was bad.
And
Whoa.
since we're jumping all over the place, I need to
Yeah.
mention something.
Yeah.
The, so they save Neo, not the rebels. What do they call those people? Whatever. That crew. They save Neo. They bring him to that new world. Jada Pinkett Smith says, "What's up?" Takes him to see strawberries. Locks him up. They save him like 2 minutes after he's locked up, and they're all over the place. And then they fail. They come back, and then like they get a mission to go back.
Yeah.
That was like it seemed like you know what I'm saying? They went
I know.
all
Yeah.
over the place
Yeah.
and just like man, it was like it was bad, man. I don't understand like that's why I say that I feel like this is like the most pretentious thing because I don't understand how people can enjoy like this quality of writing. And not-
It's
and
bad.
the, and the music wasn't even that good. It's I'm looking at the Rotten
Well,
Tomatoes. It's like at six. It's in the 60s for both the critics and the what's it called
Oh, that's
and the
interesting. That's
reviews.
dropped. It's dropped. It was in the 80s before for the critics
yeah.
and
66.
70s for the regular folks.
It
The
was like
movie's
the
trash. It's
pretentious,
trash.
the pretentious critics. Because I was there when I saw it in the theater, and was the only one who's dying. This is the worst thing ever. But basically, let's just dive into the movie and the themes and everything. So, starting
Yeah.
from the very beginning, they recreate this the beginning of Matrix 1. Um,
Mhm.
and then we have Thomas Anderson, Neo. He is now a successful game developer, which is basically his series of games is now just the Matrix.
Yeah.
They somehow he believes that the Matrix was basically, I don't know, some type of thing he saw in his dream, and so he created the Matrix from it. They're all just random memories of him being Neo. Tiffany, who is Trinity, is now a mother. She is married. I think she has 2 or 3 kids by now. And the thing with Anderson is he's unable to separate his reality from his dreams. They don't really explain how long this is happening, but we do know for what 60 years or so, he's been this Thomas Anderson game developer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another
Oh, we're
Uh-oh.
getting some lag over there. Oh, I think our thing just froze. Um, yeah, Mr. Anderson. They brought I back. Somebody on Twitter said this. I thought it was hilarious. Dana, are you back?
no,
Wait, are you back now? I think you might be. No.
Dana, can you hear us?
um,
Oh.
therapist.
Dana, you're lagging like really bad.
Yeah.
If you can hear us, you're like let me type that out in the chat.
You type it out. I'll keep it going. Somebody has said on Twitter said this. I thought it was funny. It's like, yo, so Keanu Reeves is the game developer. He won a game at the Game Awards. They want to commit suicide.
Well, by the way, now remember, like we talk about it. Shout out to Throwdown, with Jeff Keighley and stuff. Of course, the Game Awards makes a cameo in this movie.
Of course, yeah, now we see why they were harping on that movie during the awards, because there's a cameo in there,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, Dana, you might be back. No, I think you're good.
Am I back? Oh, I didn't know what was going
Yes.
on.
Oh, you were like gone,
I didn't. I was having a whole monologue.
Yeah, you better repeat that again because you were gone. We had to keep it going.
No, I was just basically setting up, the first part of the movie was him basically they recreated the first part of the Matrix. And now he is a game designer. Everything that he thought that he was or experienced as Neo is kind of like a fate memory. And so he took that memory and created the Matrix video games from it. And now he is world famous designer, and Warner Brothers wants him to create another set of trilogies, which makes me wonder, are we getting 2 more movies of this? Because it was
I
basically a
hope
movie
Oh,
within
not.
a movie.
Yeah, they were trying to
Satire.
be really meta. We're not talking about Facebook. We're talking about just meta as the concept. Like they went
This was
all
Yeah,
in,
they went
because I yeah, and I think that's one of the things critics like, that there was a commentary on literally what this movie is, like a forced
Mhm.
reboot. you know,
I would have more respect for Lana Wachowski if because I guess my interpretation of that whole part is like, hey, let's go into let's show how the boardroom works in Warner Brothers, where these people are forcing me to make a sequel, right? It's
Yeah.
like, okay, we got to make another trilogy because we got to sell because of the nostalgia and all that. They even mention Warner Brothers in the movie, and I'm like, I think I would have had more respect if you busted out an Evangelion or something. It's like, just go
Yeah.
balls out and do crazy stuff, and f the studio. But yeah, it's like, yeah, you're telling us that this is a cash grab. We already know that. You're not enlightening everyone. The only people that are, you know, like this kind of stuff is people who think they're clever.
Yeah.
It's in the nose for a reason, because it's the most obvious thing, and if people already know this stuff. It's like there's only one reason why this exists. There's only one reason why most of these movies exist, and they're just pure cash grabs. Some more than others.
Here's the thing. I want to jump on that real quick. Like, because some people did interpret the movie this way, that it was just a big fuck you to Warner Brothers, that Lana Wachowski didn't want to do the movie. That's cool. That's interesting, but that shouldn't have been part of this movie. I thought the whole meta thing is an interesting thing on its own, but I don't think it fits with the Matrix.
Well,
I think it would have been more interesting if they would have tried to at least expand the story instead of just like, here's the meta-ness of it all. Didn't
yeah.
work for me.
Well, it's 2 things. i- for me, like I mentioned earlier, I would have appreciated it if she just went like, F Warner Brothers. I'm gonna make a terrible movie, or I'm gonna make something,
Well, she did,
something.
so
Well,
props to
no, no.
that.
Well, even more terrible, like more terrible movie, like a huge fu, right? Instead of what happened here, and damn it, I forgot what my second point was gonna be. Um, but yeah, I wish that would have been the direction. If not, just make a movie that's whatever is the Matrix was supposed to be, because it doesn't even like, it just takes you out of everything. This whole piece, it just takes you off of everything. It's like, oh, we're being meta here, and it's like, it just I miss going back, even in the old Matrix movies, like even the ones that people didn't like. It's like, at least there was a world where it felt
Yeah.
like you could go into, and there's like crazy stuff going, and instead we got this. We got Silicon Valley meets Jeff Keighley, and
Yeah, basically, yeah, and that's the other thing. Damn it, I forgot what I was gonna say, but yeah, it's I don't know. Oh yeah, like you said, like maybe this should have just went into another direction. But the thing is, like even the second Matrix movie was forced. They had no ideas for sequels. The first one was
Mhm.
supposed to be it, so they didn't even have any ideas to begin with. So all this just feels extra forced. But I do agree with you again. Even though I thought Matrix 2 and 3 are bad, they at least were distinctive. They at least felt big in scope, right, and cinematic and exciting. This
Right.
Mhm.
didn't. It was just limp. It was just there. So if Lana Wachowski's goal was to make a shitty Matrix movie as a fuck you to Warner Brothers, then she succeeded, because this is
Yeah.
terrible. Like this movie is literally everything like the in movie world it harps against these soulless cash grabs. It makes exactly that. So in that sense, maybe it is a good movie, but you kind of just ruined the fun of going back into the Matrix, as Carlos said. Because that world is cool. The world is interesting. The whole thing of like the machines using humans as batteries and shit. That is actually legit cool. And I don't even think they've ever resolved the whole, like, who started this war. We don't know. I think that's an interesting question too, because I honestly believe it's probably humans fucking around doing something.
Mhm.
But again, none of that was explored. It's just like, hey, remember this? Hey, remember that? But it's like, yeah, you're giving me all this stuff, but it's like, it's like, for example, like, hey, remember this awesome painting you like? Here's a 5-year-old recreating it. It just felt like that. It's like,
Mm.
yeah, I could see that's the Mona Lisa, but nah, man, nah, you didn't capture it, homie. So
So,
a lot of
mhm.
missed opportunities. Or I'll leave it at that. Go ahead, Dana.
So do you feel that by them relying so heavily on the first one to literally recreate scenes and to literally remind you who characters are from the first Matrix, it kind of ruins the legacy of Matrix 1? Anyone?
Doesn't I don't think it ruins it. It's
No.
using it as a crutch. And again, that was my problem with the Spider-Man movie. Like you take away all those previous movies, it has nothing to stand on. But at least that movie had fucking excitement and characters and heart. This one didn't. So you strip away, because it wasn't just using the first one; it was using all three of them. You strip that away. What do you have? Like a cheap imitation of the first movie, because that's what it really was. It was a recreation of the original film, just in a clumsy, haphazard way. Um,
Yeah.
but again, with no heart. Say what you will about the Force Awakens. That movie was just a recreation of Episode 4, but at least it was fun. Um, and again, even with my problems with Spider-Man, that movie had fucking character and soul. This didn't. Oh,
Yeah.
we lost Dana. Oh shit, we gotta keep it going. You know.
Yeah, I felt like, and like I mentioned earlier, I didn't feel like Keanu Reeves wasn't like too much like
He was
into this
phoning it
into
in.
this
He was
movie.
phoning it in, man. Yo, I got to say this real quick though, man. And I'm
Yeah.
taking this off of Twitter, so it's something I came up with myself, but it's perfect. Yeah, I feel bad for Keanu. You had 2 years in a row with him in bad stuff. You had him
Mm.
Cyberpunk, and then this
Well,
shit.
yo, man, and I mean, even though, I mean, the cyberpunk wasn't even his fault. That's the
No, it
that's the
wasn't.
unfortunate part.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
but yeah, this is a really bad 2 year stretch for him, and it's I'm just trying to figure out, like, you know, the people that like this movie,
Yeah.
did they really think, like, this comes close to even the latter half of the original trilogy? Like, because
Yeah.
I felt, the fact that Neo died, the fact that Trinity, well, Neo, we don't know if Neo died, I guess, in the end, but the fact that Trinity died and all of that, even though it was a bad movie for me, I felt like, hey, they ended it.
Yeah.
They ended these characters. They took their arc. They all of that. But this movie is like, it's like, yeah, we're doing a cash grab. We're bringing the band back, and oh man, I just it's hard, and even the stuff with the, what's it called, with Neil Patrick Harris, with the Doogie Howser.
Yeah.
It's like he was in control for like one scene.
Yeah. Pretty
He was
much.
that bullet time scene. He was only in control of that scene, and then in the end, he was like, okay, because he was supposed to be. I think his whole thing is he's like like the peer of the architect, because the
Yeah.
architect was obviously the architect of the original Matrix, and he's the quote unquote the architect of the new Matrix, and and he can't he can't keep this alive, because I guess the compromise was, we're keeping Neo and Trinity alive, and having them in this thing where I get to be their what's it called, psychologist, and keep them into this world so they feel it. But yeah, he was he was supposed to be the villain, but he inconsequential for anything. I never
Yeah.
felt like he had any source of power, except like I said, except for that one scene in that
Yeah.
garage.
Yeah. No, again, like wasted opportunity there. That guy, Neil Patrick Harris, great actor, and you just squander that. You could have
Hmm.
done something there, but and the other thing, speaking about actors again, man, it wouldn't have saved this movie, but it would have been so much better if we would have had the original Morpheus and Agent Smith back. That would have been so cool,
Yeah.
because like you said, those guys they brought a lot of weight to the scenes, and just having these guys, like, just pretend this is Hugo Weaving, just pretend this is Lawrence Fishburne. It's like, no, that doesn't work for me. These guys do not have it. I mean, the Agent Smith guy, he was just some sleazy, like, corporate executive. He wasn't anything like threatening, The Morpheus guy, here's the thing. I'm just talking smack just because I'm comparing up to Lawrence Fishburne. The guy's not bad in and of himself. He's fine. But it's like you can't have such a heavy role and then brought back down. It's not an upgrade. It wasn't like switching from what's his face, Terrence Howard, Don Cheadle. That was an upgrade. That was good.
Yeah.
But this is like, no. But then again, Lawrence Fishburne's already top of. You can't get better than that, to replace him. Similar with Hugo Weaving. It's like, yo, that's power right there. I'd
Mhm.
say again, I could talk all that shit I want about Spider-Man Homecoming. At least they brought the original guys back, man. They got Willem Dafoe back. He was fucking dope. They got Alfred Molina. All those guys were good. They should have had something like that. At least something to. It wouldn't have saved this movie because it would have been what it's going to be. But at least it would have been. Gotta have something. You
Gotta
gotta
have
have that.
some. Yeah,
But
we would have had something to hang something on, because
yeah,
with the new characters, I mean, and it's unfortunate with them, because the dude that plays Morpheus is a really good actor. I
yeah,
like
he's
him a
good.
lot.
Yeah,
In
yeah,
he's in Watchmen, by the way. He's really good in Watchmen.
yeah.
Um, yeah, it's like they're putting him in a position where it's like, because he's not even that much of a
No,
Morpheus.
he's
He's
not.
he's there, like, he's Morpheus for like bits, you know. He's not
Hmm.
all around there. Literally and figuratively, he's not all the way
It's
there.
like a
Yeah,
computer
So,
program that just pops in and out and does kung fu.
this is a criticism of the Matrix as a whole. The only time Morpheus was actually used effectively was the first movie. They kind of let him flounder after that, and this one didn't do anything to help his case. Which
Well,
is a shame.
I always thought Morpheus played the role of a mentor. And so I think right after Keanu in this one realized what was going on again, then he kind of worked as a guide, but they really didn't even have him do
Yeah,
that as well. I think it was just like just a name they brought these people back.
yeah,
It
yeah. No,
didn't.
that's what it was. Morpheus, you know. Oh god.
Very true.
Anyway, yeah,
So we had kind of addressed on Morpheus. My computer, it's not the computer, it's Spectrum. I hate Spectrum. You
Oh,
guys did not like Agent Smith at all, and you couldn't stand Naomi. Niobe.
well,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, Dana.
no,
Here's
we
the thing with
not her yet, right? Is she that new girl?
no Niobe.
No,
Niobe is
Niobe is
Jada
Jada.
Pinkett Smith.
Oh yeah, I didn't. No, I didn't like her at all. I didn't like. No, no, no. I didn't like that. I was not feeling
Well,
that rainbow. No, 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 no.
well, the thing with Agent Smith is not that the actor was bad. Is he's
He's not
he's
Hugo Weaving.
well that's another thing.
That's
Like
the main thing for him. Like you can't compare, bruh.
he's he's a menacing villain. He's a menacing villain of the first trilogy, right? He's in
Hmm.
every trilogy and most of the fight scenes. It seems like, and and in this movie, he's an ally. It's like
It would have. It's
Made
the
no
way how they
fucking
set it
sense.
up that didn't make any sense. But here's the thing that would have worked. If you would have shown, or like you said before, even just a small short or some type of anime of what happened between the war and where we're at now, then it would have shown people, taking sides. Because you even had the robots, the machines taking side of the humans. If you
Mhm.
would have focused on that, and in that way, as a viewer, people not know whose side is on which, it would have worked better. For me, it was just like, oh, I don't understand what's going on. Now he's an ally, and then now he's not because his program was rewritten. It was very confusing.
He
And
Oh,
so
go
the
ahead, go ahead. Because I got
I
some. I got something to say on that. Go ahead, Carlos.
he the point I did understand the point of Agent Smith, but it kind of didn't belong anywhere. Like his whole thing is he was also kind of brainwashed like Neo was
mhm,
in the Matrix. So his whole purpose was to be Neo's boss or partner, whatever business partner, whatever he was. So like he was there, brainwashed for all these years, and the new architect like he kept them around. But then obviously when Neo built that program and triggered bugs and all that stuff, he he sort of came to his own senses. So he was thankful to Neo because he quote unquote freed him. And but he fought him in the first one because he felt like he fought him during the movie because he thought that he was gonna fuck it up with Neil Patrick Harris. And that was the most menacing fight that Neo fought the whole movie. And it was against his quote unquote ally. So it's like I felt like Agent Smith was more of a threat in to Neo in the movie than the actual villain,
Hmm.
and it wasn't even that much of a threat. But yeah, that's my whole that's my whole issue with Smith because I had no issues with the actor, just the way he was you know written.
So, I mean, that's a problem with this movie in general, just the way it's written. I do want to. This is a little bit kind of going back a little bit because I was just thinking about this now, right? One of the more interesting characters in the first movie was a Cipher, right? This guy
Yeah,
was like, "Listen, I know the Matrix is fake. I don't give a fuck. I want to go back, right?" Because
yeah,
in this movie, again, didn't explain it because I'm like, did we not see other humans in pods? Like,
right.
so the machines brought them back, right? But again, wouldn't it have been more interesting if, at the end of the third movie, humans were all freed and like half of them said, fuck this shit. Put me back in the Matrix. That would have been more interesting. That would have been a
Hmm.
really cool thing to explore, you know? Because
Yeah,
that's human nature. That's real shit. It's like, oh, I do have a comparison, but I don't want to offend certain persuasion, Carlos, if you know what I'm talking about. But some
oh
people would rather live in a fantasy world that makes them comfortable rather than face reality, right? But
yeah,
in this one, like, did the humans go back voluntarily? Were they forced? Was there another war? How do we get here? The movie doesn't
right.
address any of that, and I think that would have been interesting, but we didn't have anything like that.
I think that's what
And
it tries to do without trying to offend anyone, so it doesn't answer that question. Because that's why a lot of people who really did like this are saying, there are parts in your world where you want to forget that certain parts of history happened. So you
yeah,
want to just continue with your own thought of what you think history was. And
yeah,
so
that's
what
one way of
happens when
seeing it.
you
Yeah,
it's one way of saying it. So it's
yeah,
like, what happens when you're faced with that reality? You don't want to address that. That you can look at what's going on. There's a reason why there are certain things that are banned. Why were there are certain laws that all of a sudden got in place because they want to keep that image of what they thought history was to them. So it could have did that, but it didn't for me. It just didn't flesh it out. This was a movie that had great ideas but poor execution with everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. It kind of reminds me of Prometheus in that way, right? That
Mm.
movie had a lot of cool ideas. None of them were executed well. It was just sloppy. But yeah, again, and Dana, I really like that interpretation. Is the way I see it. It's like, okay, that your belief system is fake, right? But you're willing
Mhm.
to go with it anyway. You're willing to go with it
Mhm.
just because it makes you comfortable.
Makes
You
you
think
feel
there's
good.
something better. Yeah. So that would have been so cool. But no, 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 we don't get into that. Just we're back in the Matrix. Neo is the game developer.
Right. I mean,
Yeah,
it tried to show like people who were angry at Neo for waking them up essentially and pulling them out. You mean
yeah,
there was that whole thing
that would have
with
been
the
a
with the
cool thing to
remember
explore. Yeah,
but they kind of touched on it when they had that fight with the I don't want to say homeless people, but they looked a bit scary.
yeah.
They
That's
was a
right.
term for them, but they were upset and wanted to go back. They said you stole my life from me when all he
Yeah,
did
yeah.
was just unplug it. So
Well,
they
Even though
tried.
one
even
of
though
the
it's kind of weird, like if it's been 60 years, this is all you've known. So
yeah.
that's a little bit weird. But again, those things were not explored because like we just got to do member berries. We got to do the memes. We got to focus on that instead.
Carlos, you was gonna say
Yeah,
something?
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
yeah, one of them of the homeless looking people was the French guy from the second movie, if you guys remember.
Yeah, I remember him.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's like he
Member
was
him.
remember the member berries? Um and there were literal berries in this movie too. But yeah, that was one of the guys, but I think that kind of concept is more intriguing in a movie like Inception, because they did the same thing there, where it's like, yeah, there's these people that living in this place that all they want to do is live in the dream world, not in the real one.
Yeah.
But yeah, this man, and I'll understand if you guys didn't get this either. But the part that I didn't understand, and I'm pretty sure was explained, was the whole thing with what's her name, Bugs. Like she
Collect
was
bugs.
in she was in Neo's program within the
Hmm.
Matrix. So she was in the real world, she was in the Matrix, and she was in Neo's Matrix, in Neo's like Matrix, whatever that world was called.
Video game.
How in Neo's video game. How so did she consciously went to the Matrix, and then within the Matrix consciously went to Neo's game? I still don't understand that, because
Hmm.
she was what I understand is she was programmed to be a bug in Neo's game. So whenever she sort of realized that this was in the real world, she would trigger sort of Morpheus and all that stuff. But what I don't understand is, how did we get from she's a bug in Neo's game to someone in real life actually going through the Matrix and stuff like that? Did you guys understand that part?
I didn't even catch that. I was just like, she's just because she's obviously in the real world. She's a real human, you know.
Yes.
So I guess she went into the matrix and then went into a sub matrix within the matrix.
Well, they showed
Yeah,
when Neo committed suicide the first time. Remember when he jumped off the
yeah.
ledge?
She saw him. Yeah,
She was there
Yes.
and she was able to see who he really was.
Right.
And I guess that was when there was a bug in the system. And so when they rebooted, remember they kept saying we had to reboot everything and some people got purged? I
yeah,
guess by her being a bug or a glitch, she was able to know the different divisions of within the world. So she was able to navigate successfully. And that's why in the very beginning when she saw Trinity, well fake Trinity not acting like real Trinity, she realized that something was wrong. And I guess
Right.
that's when Morpheus, because Morpheus was also lost as well, and it took her to waken Morpheus, so she knew from what her member berries that this is what happened with Neo, this is what happened at Trinity, because she remember she was the only one who wanted to wake up Trinity as well. So she was
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh.
here we go again.
Let me text Spectrum. Spectrum.
Stop
Effing up
fucking
again. Oh, there we
shit
go.
up.
Is it bad again?
Yeah, no, we're good now. We're good now. But Spectrum was being. I think
Yeah.
I think it's because we're talking smack about the Matrix. The actual Matrix is like trying to like boot us out or
Yeah.
something. You know, we're having
It's
a
glitching
glitch
on
right
us.
now. Yeah, it's glitching on us. The cat's running around right now. Deja vu.
Deja
you know?
vu. Yeah, I guess it's. I understand what you're saying, Dana. I just don't understand how it makes sense in the aspect of was she. So she's a real person that's sort of fighting the good fight for this new world. Did she consciously go to the Matrix and then somehow subconsciously went to Neo's game?
Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't even think about that's bad too. That's bad writing then, because yeah, you're right. They didn't unless I missed some. But then again, all three of us missed that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. That means it wasn't explained clearly enough.
Yeah, so I didn't understand that part because the way I understood it is that Neo intentionally wrote her to be a glitch in the game to trigger everything.
But she's a real person.
But she's a real person, exactly.
Yeah, so she's not like a computer program. She's a real legit person.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm still maybe the the real people know about this stuff, but I don't.
Yeah.
I felt like
Oh,
it
there's
wasn't
two
explained
Danas.
very
There
well.
we go.
Well, wait, which one? Yo, is this is a variant?
The variant, yeah.
There's a variant. Okay, that should be much better.
I wish there was a variant of this movie that was better.
You guys really hated the movie. Okay, so basically, so kind of moving on from that whole situation, was there any other thoughts about we had now that they're in the Matrix, they had the whole relationship between Trinity and Neo, which is the whole point of this movie, and the fact that if you reunite them, everything will be perfect again?
I had a problem with that too.
Okay.
Because the whole plot of the movie is basically get Trinity back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what is it supposed to be, a setup or something for another movie? Because that's
Yeah, I think they pretty much established it's a trilogy.
Oh God, yeah, I didn't like that either. Here's like, I did enjoy seeing Neo and Trinity back to some extent. I will admit that, but kind of like the way I enjoyed Joel and Ellie in Last of Us 2. It's the only thing I liked about that game. But the rest of it just fell flat. And if that's literally the whole point, I don't know. It didn't work for me. Like that plot, and that was like the main plot of the movie, wasn't it? Get Trinity back.
That was the whole plot.
Yeah, I didn't care for it.
Yeah, that was the main plot of the whole thing. It's like, let's get Trinity, and we're keeping the Matrix, but we're rewriting it to our liking. So we're essentially became the the gods of this Matrix. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan either. Even though like Tony mentioned, I really enjoy watching Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss in this movie.
Yeah. It's the only time Keanu Reeves actually looked like he gave a shit,
Well, he was his love.
Yeah, Dana, you were kind of lagging out during this part, but we both agreed that Keanu Reeves was just phoning it in for the majority of this movie.
Here's
he
the
could tell
thing.
He didn't give a fuck. Like, listen, I'll take my money and that's it.
Keanu as an actor has the ability to do that with all of his movies. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's just his inflection and his tone. It was like only a handful of movies where he really seemed like he was in it and acting. But this one was like he was monotone the whole time, even with Trinity.
It's like more than usual, because I know what you're talking about. He does have that in general, but in this one, it just seemed really zoned in. Because right, he does have that for the most part. Like, whoa, I could do kung fu. Kung fu. Like that is part of his character, but this one it really felt like he didn't give a fuck. It's like, all right, I'm just taking my money, whatever.
Sheesh.
That's why I think that could have been another reason why his action scenes weren't that great.
Yeah,
I mean, because we know he can do action in John Wick. He's great in that movie.
Yeah, exactly.
But
well, could you make the argument that this was not so much action-y because it was solely based on story?
No, but there was plenty of action in this movie. It was just badly done.
Action. It felt like X-11.
Yeah, but that's my point. This movie is not a story. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like it is an action movie. It is still very much an action movie, So you can't say that. It's just the action was just terribly done. You know, terrible. You know.
Yeah, I completely understand. My thing is, I didn't understand why they would put Trinity and Neo in such close proximity to each other, especially
They
since
explained it was stupid. It's like
Yeah,
it
they had
was.
they
to.
needed them to be close enough for it to
Mhm.
work, but not too close because then their powers combine. Like what? You know, that was silly too.
And then the
But
program, because
Yeah.
if you look at it, wasn't Neo's friend also a program and introduced them? So that was
which Neo's friend?
weird.
Oh, the guy inside the
And the
game.
rest, the game in the restaurant, the cafe, was like, "Look, you like her, MILF.
Well,
Let's
we don't
talk
know
to
if that
her."
guy's a program. He could be a real person too. We don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he was.
Yeah, I'm just assuming he was a regular person. You know, in the Matrix.
I
But
think his.
again,
Oh,
properly done.
I'm seeing his name on the IMDb. His character name is Inconsequential Man Number 3.
Nah.
Wow, that explains everything then. So, so we kind of touched upon Niobe, and nobody really liked Niobe either because she was just trying to fight the mission and didn't really care about who came back. But then we have to talk about I cannot pronounce her name, but Nick Jonas' wife, Priyanka, and that she was essentially the little girl from The Matrix. What is it, 3?
I have a question about that.
Okay.
If this is 60 years later,
She's a programmer.
hold on. Actually, no. I think I just answered my own question because we never saw her in the real world, right?
No.
Okay,
No,
that
Betsy
answers
was
my
never
question.
real.
So
No.
she could look like that and still be fine. Because remember, you know, the Matrix, you look different than you do in the real world. So she could be like this old lady and stuff like
Well, she was a
Naomi,
program.
right?
Well, remember, she was like an exile
she a program?
program. She was
Oh
a
yeah,
program that was
yeah.
created. She didn't have a purpose at all, but she met Neo
Yeah.
at the end of the Machine War.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Again, it's been 20 years since I've seen that movie. I just remember it was bad. Okay, fair enough. You know.
Understand?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really have any strong feelings about her one way or another. She was just there, you know.
Yeah, apparently she's like the one that programmed like the whole, thing with the capsule things and the connections, and that's why she knew how to, unconnect them, I guess. I'll out of all the crazy things that happen, I'll accept that.
Yeah. Yeah, she didn't really make a strong enough impression to, for me to say anything, to be honest, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So then we kind of have to talk about that ending. I'm not sure if everything. Like I was a little lost at first, but Tiffany and Neo reunite, and basically she's now Neo.
Yeah, she's the one now, or a one,
So there's multiple
or
ones.
the other.
The other one.
Like, because you can't just have like what is like Highlander, right? Could only be one. I don't have a problem with that. I think some people were upset that Trinity had the power. I don't care. That's fine. Whatever. I don't give a shit. You know, I like seeing Carrie. I like Carrie-Anne Moss. I could forgive that. You know, but I did think that. Hey, there we go. I found something that was kind of cool. You know, they both would jump off the building, right? And then like they hang in midair. And Neil's like, "Well, I'm not doing this." You know, that was kind of cool. But yeah, I don't have a problem with it. With Trinity having Neo powers and stuff, that's cool. I have no problem with that.
Yeah,
Okay, Carlos.
yeah, that was fine. I did. I knew one of them was gonna do it when they jumped, and I didn't really mind when she did it. It was cool.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I know that's not exciting to talk about. Like, oh, you know, like, because I saw some people on Twitter are upset about it. Shut the fuck up, dude. You know?
Oh, someone's upset.
Yeah, right. Oh shit. Dana ain't having it. You know?
Lamps are collapsing. They gave out. So basically, no one really seems enthused about this movie either way. So we have to, what about the ending? Because it was an end credit scene where basically
that was stupid.
No, they're not.
See, I do feel strongly about that. That was dumb. It's like it's like a cheap gaming like fucking joke. You know?
Yeah,
I don't know.
as gamers, I thought you guys would appreciate that.
No, as a gamer, I felt it was stupid. You know? That was dumb.
Yeah, it was pretty dumb. Yeah, I did. That was actually I couldn't think of a post credit scene that was worse than the Spider-Man one. Yeah, we found one.
I was about to say the
I
same thing because
like
I
the
did not like
Spider-Man.
the Spider-Man because it wasn't a post credit scene.
It wasn't a
That's not
post credit
the
scene. It was
point.
a trailer.
Neither
It
was
was a
Captain
trailer.
America's Patience. Remember, he just said patience, patience, but it worked.
Yeah, no,
I
but
don't
this
even
was
remember that one.
legit a trailer. It was legit a trailer. That was better than this thing. And
Yeah,
even then, I was like, yeah, come on now.
Well, you
That
guys
was
need to
stupid.
watch Hawkeye. Wait until you see
No,
the ending of that
I'm
one.
not bothering with it. I heard about that, and that's stupid too. You know, I'm glad I skipped that bullshit. But yeah, I guess since we're coming up on the end of, not a lot to talk about because this movie,
You guys hated everything.
I don't. Again, there's almost no redeeming value to this. You know, it's just, again, repeating myself, just like this movie repeats itself. You know, soulless cash grab, no reason to exist whatsoever. Badly done, badly written, badly choreographed, phoned in performances. Like, oh, like it was just bad. It was just bad movie, you know. And I'm saying that to be nice to it, by the way, saying that it's bad. Um, it was just not good. If you like it, fantastic. I'm happy for you. But I'll leave it at that. I'm happy for you if you like it. I'll leave it at that.
Oh God.
Yeah, I'm I guess that for me, it's like I'm glad this was on HBO Max. They really did us a favor. Even I mean, I wasn't gonna watch it in the theaters anyways, but yeah, this was not good. I mean, I was actually one of the people that was optimistic about it. I know, yeah, I know you weren't, but I wanted it to be good, So I was like, hey, let me look at the bright sides to everything that I'm watching on these trailers and stuff. Because the trailers weren't that bad. It's just when it came to the execution, when it came to I guess the motivation to create these movies, it was just not there, and it sucks because these are all like actors and stuff that I root for because I see them in a lot of other stuff and they're great. But hey, everyone has their stinkers, and this definitely is leaving a stench.
But that's 3 stingers in a row, man. Jesus, with this franchise, I'll say this. So this is me trying to be nice, even I'm still gonna backhand, insult it. This movie was simultaneously better than I expected, but worse than I expected, right? It's better because I thought it was going to, I'm trying to be very careful what I'm going to say right now. I thought it was going to try to ham fist some political stuff more than it didn't. In my opinion, it didn't at all, right? I don't think it did that. But it was worse because of the action sequences. I'm like, wow, I at least expected those to be good. I'd at least give me something, So in a sense, it's better because I thought it was going to try to ham fist some messages and stuff. It didn't do that, thankfully. Like, just focus on trying to be a movie, but at the same time, the action was just so bad. I no reason to rewatch this.
Sheesh. Well, I did not like it. Rest in peace to Oracle, because Oracle didn't make it. She got purged. So did Architect. He was purged too.
Purge this franchise, please.
I thought it had, it had really great ideas with extremely poor execution. I had to focus on this really hard because it was just one of those movies that you could just do something else and have it playing on the background. But I do not look forward to the other two. If they do make the other two, I hope it is much better than this one. I don't know which more you want to go from it. Are they just unplugging random people from the Matrix who don't want to be plugged in? Or who want to be plugged in? I don't know. But overall, it was a forgettable movie.
Agreed. Please no more sequels. Stop it. This is bad. Just leave it alone.
Okay. Well, if anyone has anything else to plug, I know Mr. Tony is busy.
No, thankfully I'm not. I'm actually on vacation, which is like, whoa, this is good. So I'm just chilling right now. But yeah, you could catch me and Carlos over on Throwdown. Throwdown's on a little bit of a hiatus right now, but we will return on January. Let me pull up that date for you. We'll be back on January 6th. with a brand new episode of both shows. Well, January 9th, I believe, is the right questions, Carlos.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, January 6th and 9th we'll be back. But right now we're just chilling, and you could catch me over on Twitter. I'm chilling on Twitter right now. I'm not really doing too much, but it's right down there. There's some people down there I see that aren't on this episode, but that's okay. At Romudeth, ROMUDTH, and yeah, man, I'm gonna watch more Godzilla movies, make myself happy.
Nice.
Very nice. Carlos, anything you would like to add?
Not much other than you can follow me at Eurocard9. It's not below anymore, but but it was there for most of the show. So yeah, make sure to catch me that on Twitter if you guys want to get other opinions on stuff. But yeah, other than that, Throwdown coming out in the new year, and hopefully we get some better movies in the upcoming year, because I think this is at least for us, I think that's all the movies that we're reviewing for 2021.
Yeah, this is the last one. Yeah, this year was not that good for movies.
Yeah, for as bad as a lot of the movies were, always grateful to talk with you guys, and thankful for Dana and the Koalition for having us here, and hopefully we have a good slate of movies next year to discuss again.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely be getting back together for sure. So look forward to that.
Mm-hmm. And as for me, we just dropped the Vincent D'Onofrio interview with the doing about Hawkeye and Echo series, and why he looks really different, but he's actually the same person. So we have that interview. We also have Naomi. That interview. We have the interview with the cast of the Macbeth, the Denzel Washington one. So we have some more interviews that are coming, and 2022, hopefully we'll have better movies. I know everyone's excited for Eternals. Yeah. Coming to Disney Plus.
By the way, Dana, I didn't like that pause you did between 2020 and then because I don't want that. I don't want to repeat. I don't want 2022 the revenge. We don't need any more of that.
2022. There you go. All one together.
Yes.
No revenge. All together. So everyone who's watching, have a great day, afternoon, evening. We hated this movie. Hope you had a better time watching it. Bye.
Later, people.